So anything you hear on this video is not a financial advice. This is just we kind of, hanging around at the end of the week, kind of talking with each other, asking questions, review the market. That's really pretty much it. So it's like a kind of open table. Anybody wanna ask a question or go for it.
All right. Yes, sir. Thank you for that introduction, Memo. Molly goes by Memo now. So, like you said, guys, this is a completely free form forum. Anything that might be on your mind, whether it's to me or to somebody else, go ahead. I'm all ears.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let you off the hook so easy. Somebody must have something that they want to talk about. I like y'all don't want me to just talk about what I want to talk about.
All right.
Go for it. Go for it.
Sorry. I guess I'll start. I mean, it's been a pretty exciting week for me. It's this kind of action, I haven't seen in a while. I feel like it's almost as if we back to almost like those 2021 actions, especially on, like I mentioned in chat multiple times for the last week on GNLN and CING. It's like, to me, it's like the better liquidity trap compared to the recent T1 trap that's been showing up, like the one that's like kept pushing really fast for like the first 30 minutes of the day and then just dies off. At least for me, these one has been great trader, like scalp and holding.
This is your peak market, isn't it?
I haven't looked at my P&L yet, but I feel like it's probably one of my best weeks for the year, I think.
Yeah, I don't mean necessarily from a P&L perspective, but from an action perspective for your style.
Oh yeah, for sure.
As it gets.
Yeah. So the way I trade, pretty much, I'm always scalping while looking at you can think of it as like like one of my friends today said, I'm basically trading around a core, while looking, zooming out and trying to look for the bigger picture play, so that when the time comes, I can hold my the rest of my position for the big move. So for me at least, like the more things chop, the more I can make. Right? If it just straight up, straight down, I can't do anything because I don't really trade like that. I don't really hold. Even though I do short, I don't really hold for like an all-day fade. Even when I'm short, I'm shorting. I'm always scalping in and out. So yeah, it's been pretty great.
What a week, man! I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for all of us. It really has been incredible action.
Yeah. I feel like when we have range, it's like you can make mistakes, early on, and you can still have a lot of opportunities to make it all back, and even probably go big green at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's a very forgiving environment when there's range both ways, as long as you know what you're dealing with. Does anybody have any thoughts or questions about this week, or thoughts perhaps about what next week might be like? Any pain point that they're going through that they want to talk about?
Yeah, Mo, let me ask you a question about, so I've noticed, like, you've done this a few times now, where on the day where you feel like something can go crazy, maybe if we're throwing around Black Swan, maybe it's even before that, but you're like, man, like this could really go nuts. I see you like dip a lot, like you just leave. is it because you're expecting the action for the rest of the day across the board to be somewhat like strong slash difficult, or is that just coincidence?
It's coincidence, but to Brian's point, what Brian is talking about is that over the years, I've consistently taken off days that don't fit my strategy. Sometimes is the echo coming from me? I don't know where the echo's coming from. Sometimes, echo cancellation on. This can't be changed while recording. Oh, fuck you. So I chalk it up to luck, but luck is sometimes lucky, sometimes. Basically, the way it works is for me is that I work really hard when it's my market, and when it's not my market, I want to live, and so I'm gonna go into the pool or to play ball or whatever it might be. And sometimes, and I do have sort of this wonderful luck. It's really, really consistent. And it happens a lot. The days that I take off are the days that I should not be trading personally. It's in my car, baby. Go ask mommy to get Lovey from the red car, okay? So it's coincidence, but it's sort of, I live the market. You know what I mean? So like I live the market. So I definitely will never, ever take a day off, half a day off, or a minute off when it's my market. When it's not my market, then yeah, I want to live. And somehow my choices seem to be in tune with the market. So I call it mostly coincidence.
Gotcha. So then, like, let's take today, for example, like Sing running had nothing to do with you leaving then?
Well, I wasn't paying attention to Sing at all. Like for me, it was about like my trade of the day should have been ASTS, and I just couldn't get a fucking entry. And I had my trade. I had some other trade for pre-market seal, and I took that it did all right. I made some profits on that, and then ASTS, I just my setup for it never came, and I was extremely frustrated that my setup didn't come. It was just, I could punch a wall seeing that thing go from 36 to 120 and not giving me an entry, and that frustration. And I was sitting there, I was like, what am I going to do? Like, the morning is my chance to find trades. What am I going to do now? Sit around and wait all day for something to maybe show up. Maybe it doesn't show up. Maybe it shows up so late in the day that it's just irrelevant for me to trade it. Yeah. Fuck that, bro. I'm going to go live. And it's not like I was oblivious to Sing. I'm extremely aware of it. It's just not in my... Like, I don't give a fuck about it. Like, and I'm so happy for the longs that caught it. It's a monster long. I think, it could be maybe it could even be a TLP. It's a monster. It's the dollar volume on it is out of this universe. I think it did about $2 billion in dollar volume today. That, if you guys don't, that's it's an event. It's just that I filter what I care about, what I don't. And so for me, it was about, I just missed my big ass fucking trade. And I just was frustrated. And if I'm frustrated, what do you think? Am I going to trade well or poorly?
I think that's sharp. I think that's really sharp.
Yeah.
I think you probably should be doing that more, to be honest.
I do it a lot. Okay. That's why you asked that question, because
I know. Yeah. No, but I ask it also because I see it work out so much more often than like you miss something.
Yeah, I don't think I almost never miss my trade when I take those days. Look, you right now you're at the grind state of your career. Right. You're like grinding. You're obsessed, I hope, because you should be. And you be obsessed, like unhealthily obsessed for about 2 years, 3 years. And then you sort of bring it down to like, let's say a 10. To like a normal level of obsession.
Yeah.
And then a couple years after that, you'll be so connected to the market. It's just, you're gonna be a part of it. You're gonna know. I used to have to, for example, explain to you guys dabs, right? I don't gotta explain that shit to you guys no more. You get it, and that's a market dynamic. And so all that shit's gonna come to you when you live it.
That makes sense. Appreciate it, Mo.
Yeah. Also, particularly to you, Brian. Sorry, just one last thing. It's more of like more private. Just could talk more privately, but I'll do it over here regardless. It's
you got nothing to hide.
Public love, but I talk often about how I don't give it the game I play is not what's the highest percentage gainer of the day. That's a short,
right?
And I think today gave a really good example of why that is. And more importantly, the game that I do play is, what's the thickest mover that's up the highest for its particular thickness, and what might be the least crowded, or what's the best fader. That's the game I play. What's the best fader? And I think that so many of the sort of newer or in their first year or couple years of their career, they gravitate towards the percentage. And I know I have been beating your I've been beating this into you guys, this particular thing for a long time. And you saw me miss trades that were banger trades that I wish I didn't miss on a certain level, but I miss them because my game is not what's the highest percentage gainer. My game is what's the best fader. And I hope it took me a while to understand it. It took me a while to because you have this Pavlovian reaction where you see something up so much percentage, you start to drool. You're like, oh, look at all that downside. And what I did was I reprogrammed that reaction to point, now I have those reactions about whatever I think is going to be the best fader. It could be up like SYTA. What a wonderful example. If you just go through all my conversation about SYTA and early pre-market and for the rest of the day, that thing is it was up 35%. And not only did it fade all the 35% from pre-market, it faded and then some. And I fucked up that trade, but my Pavlovian instinct triggered for that. Some low volume, random ass shit. And it's because I know that ticker so well. And when I look at that, I drool because I see, what people, what the sort of newbies feel when they look at a high percentage gainer and they don't bother to check the details on it. I've reprogrammed that. And so it's something I suggest to everybody.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Trying to get over that. Yeah, was that mine?
Everything in due time, bro.
Do you think there is a way to? You said the ticker very well.
Yeah.
Do you think if I don't know the ticker very well, how I can get my attention into SYTA? I have to know the ticker very well, right?
What's the question again?
If I don't know the ticker very well, is it possible? What are the other ways this can attract me to SYTA? Because I don't know the ticker very well. You are so experienced, some of the tickers you just know them. There are hundreds of them.
Right.
So I'm asking.
So SYTA was, I believe, one of the 20 biggest diluters of last year. It diluted something in the order of, I'm pulling this out my ass because I don't remember, but it diluted something in the order of 50,000% last year. That is I don't have an adjective to describe how disgusting that is. And so you might not know SYTA, but you know ALLR, and AULT, and BF, whatever. Some of these tickers, and so So I answer your question in two ways. You're not supposed to necessarily know every ticker so well. That does happen over time, but you know how to judge it. And if for example, you know exactly what you know about AULT. You know that thing is a round tripper. And, in the way that you've learned it about that, you can learn that about other ones. However you learn that about AULT, you learn it about all the other ones, right? And you learn, and over time, I mean, SYTA comes up a lot, dude. It pumps a lot. So these tickers, they come around a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Understand.
Yeah. Ooh, we got a bunch of people here today. I don't know who Paul Gescha is, but nice to meet you, Paul. Does anybody have any thoughts, questions, anything they want to talk about?
Yeah. How do you recommend to learn that stuff that you just mentioned? The best way, the context.
Specific, can you refine that question just a tiny bit more?
You just talked about how you determine the weight of the stock, basically, that you don't look at the percentage gainers alone.
Yep.
So what's the best way to learn this? Actually, for me personally, I'm not a very experienced small cap trader, and I'm just getting into it. I traded mainly large caps.
Okay.
And so everything is pretty new except for the parabolics.
Okay, I got you. So let me try and rephrase that question a little bit, and if it doesn't hit exactly what you meant, then you'll let me know. But so, because I hear two potential questions there. Potential question number one is, how do we? Because I said retrain your instincts, not to drool over simply percentage gains, but to drool over the possibility of, let's say in my case, the possibility of a quote unquote easy substantial fade. And so one potential question that you may be asking is, how do I evaluate that? How do I take a look at a stock and say to myself, how does the vehicle itself correlate to the percentage move that it's doing, and what kind of advice should I have where? So that's one question I think you might be asking. Is that close?
Exactly.
Okay.
100%.
Okay. So wonderful. So great question. And quick question back at you. Are you mostly long, mostly short, a mix?
I'm primarily a large cap trader on long and short side, momentum and parabolics, short and longs. And I'm just getting into small caps, trying to understand the context.
Did you pay attention to Sava when it went from $10 to $40 over the last 2 weeks?
Yeah.
What did you think when it went from $10 to $40?
It's getting super overextended at the top. So
the frame of reference. So I'm a small cap trader. So the particular examples that I'll bring, might not be suited for you. So I'll try and change it a little bit. But what you do is you have yourself a baseline between particular kinds of vehicles, stocks, and the particular kind of moves that they make, right? So, for example, a $1 trillion stock, $1 trillion market cap, or $2 trillion market cap stock, if it goes up 10, 20% within, say, a week, that's crazy, right? Whereas a $500 million market cap does that, it's a little bit less crazy. It's actually a lot less crazy. And so what I do is and that's a very, very simplistic example, of course. But what I do is that I have a very, very, very clear categories in my mind about all the different kinds of stocks and which category do they fit. And the categories is basically I look at float, market cap, passive ownership, all these things that essentially make the vehicle like its category. Is this a thick mover, a thin mover? Does it tend to do large moves? Does it tend to do small moves? Is it the kind that's more apt for multi-day runners? Is it the type that doesn't do? All these things are categorizable, and I equate them. So on one side, it's what kind of vehicle, and on the other side, it's what do those vehicles normally do? And that's the baseline. Is what do those? If you have a baseline for what's normal for each category, then as an opportunistic, I'm an opportunistic trader, right? I don't know if you are. I'm opportunistic discretionary. So what I do is I have a very clear baseline in my mind for all vehicles and what their normal behaviors are, and I look for anomalies. And to sort of try and be more in your universe, when, for example, GameStop did its initial move most recently, before Roaring Kitty, disclosed its position, like when he was just tweeting GIFs and GameStop went flying, other really large market caps went flying with it. And I was sitting there, and I mentioned this before, so this might be a no, like you already know what I'm going to say, but I just feel it's more apt to you. And so I was sitting there and I said, okay, a bunch of really large market caps are starting to move substantially with GameStop. They're the sympathies, right? So I'll target sympathies for shorts often, very often. And so what I did was I said, what's the largest market cap and what's the largest float of the sympathies? And I found a really big boat that, went whatever it went. It might have been 50%. I don't really remember, 60%. And for small caps, for example, 50, 60% ain't shit. But for a sympathy of that size, running that much, just because retails are trading GameStop, to me, I looked at that as a substantial anomaly, and it was my biggest trade of that day. So that's the example, right? That's how I put things into buckets, and I have baselines for each bucket, and I wait for anomalies. But it's on you to build those categories and the baselines that you associate with them.
Yeah, and is there any tips how you can do that the best way? Just get the reps in, or is there any?
We'd have to go more specific. And by the way, I'm happy to do that. But we do it let's exchange some voice notes, or messages, whatever, and we'll do it that way. But because I have to know what world do you trade? So you're mostly large cap, mostly long. I need to know your time frame. I need to know I want to know a bunch more things, and then I could be more helpful to you. And so this is something that if you want to follow up with me, please feel encouraged to. But the thing is that everything in how to learn how to do this, you do your best and you do it over time. And you get better over time. But the other thing that happens is you start to get to know names individually. And so you sort of, both of those things happen at the same time, is that your categorizing and baselining gets better, but you also get to know particular names specifically. And then you tend to find opportunities when those names come around and, you just know them.
Yeah, definitely. That's the same in large caps. You know the names.
Yeah, the mag.
Yeah, appreciate it.
No doubt. And great question, man. I appreciate that was a very smart question. Anybody else have any thoughts or questions? That's crazy, man. How can you have none of y'all have questions? Yeah, Riley.
I've got one. I was gonna ask about the long loaded versus trappy action video. Hold on, I'll try to speak loud for you.
Thank you.
My question with respect to that was, I saw some names this week that look to me as long loaded, but you thought they were just an algo. Are you looking at the volume for that? How are you making that read? Because you're right.
I was gonna ask that exact question.
Cool. So the question again is, how do I make the read between algo and non-algo on particularly long loaded action?
Yes.
So there are sort of two ways that I recognize algo. It's the behavior of the price and the consistency or lack of consistency of the volume. And it's not always both boxes need to check in order for me to think it's algo. One of those boxes might just be enough. And from the prices, algos work in specific ways. And so, if you'll see, it's just a visual thing. So for example, you'll see that they'll go to a level, and then you'll see sort of they'll swipe up or whatever, and then they'll hit a certain level, and then you'll see just for example, 5 dojis in a row on the 1 minutes, right? Perfect, dojis. That's not human. That's algos do that. And that's just one random example, but there's certain ways where you just visually look at the 1 minute. I use the 1 minute chart, so the candles, and you're like, yeah, that's definitely algo action. And then down at the volume area, consistency and volume, but I'm not sure if I say consistency and volume, if that's explaining it enough, because it doesn't mean all volume bars are the same. It means all of the base for each volume bar is the same, because what they'll do is, they'll, let's use regular trading hours as an example. In regular trading hours on, say, $4 or $5 stock, once the algo starts turning on, they tend to fire off 500,000 K per minute. But they're not the only people trading it. All the rest of us are too, but our volume is going to be smaller than theirs. And so if you see, candles that are 600,000, 700,000, 600,000, 575,000, 625,000. What I see is that 500,000 baseline and whatever else is added by retail. And so that relative consistency is another very common sign. Now, their baseline volumes change between pre-market and regular trading hours. So in pre-market, their baseline is different. It's, say 200,000 or whatever it might be. And so that's good to be aware of, but it's those two things. It's the consistency in the volume, which is not human, and particular price candle behaviors. And there's multiple price action behaviors that let you know that this is an algo. Is there a reason, particular reason why you asked that question as it relates to long loaded or at all?
I mean, a particular ticker, no. It's just I was trying to implement this idea or trade off this idea some this week, and I don't think I got it yet, so I'm just trying to understand it.
Can we bring up APLM, for example?
Which one?
APLM. Because I remember, Riley and I were talking about this, but I remember that day we traded VEV, right? Molly and I traded VEV, and then you traded APLM, and you were like, oh, this was long loaded but better. But when I looked at it, at APLM, I'm like, I feel like that volume is kind of consistent, and price behavior is consistent in a way that didn't feel long. I guess I don't see the difference between this and whatever it was after the day after that we asked you. Was it GNLN? Might have been.
No, you're thinking of ALBT.
Yeah, ALBT.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. So I have APLM opened up for me. What's the question about it again?
You distinctly remarked that this was long loaded and
Yep.
versus instead of algo loaded.
Right.
And I guess I'm seeing it as like, all right, the volume's rather consistent on like a base level. Like, I mean,
Yep.
like most of these bars are somewhat in ballpark. And then like the bars itself too seem quite consistent. So what distinctly marks this as long loaded to you that versus algo loaded? Like
Got you.
what's the giveaway, I guess?
I understand the question. I just have to twist it around. So, I have to start first and foremost, to Riley, who's saying, "Oh, I saw the long loaded thing, and I've been trying to trade off of that this week, and I haven't really found success." Every single little trick that I teach, every single signal that I share, every little trick that I share does not stand alone. There are no real tricks that work. Like all these things that I share, it's how I see the action or how I see the bigger picture, and it's a puzzle. It's a puzzle that we have to put together, and every day the puzzle is different, or the required bar, for us to have a trade is different. Like one day I might need 3-4 pieces of the puzzle for a trade. The next day I might need 6-7 pieces of puzzle for a trade, because the environment is dynamic. And so if somebody like Riley tells me, "Oh yeah, I saw this video about long loader and I've been trying to like trade based off of that," my question would be how? Because I don't. Like I don't trade off of that. It's a piece of information. It's a piece of information that tells you, look, the longs have a high average. That's what that means, right? So if a thing is flagging, they're not sitting that comfortable. What does that mean on its own? On its own, nothing. But together with other pieces of information, it may give you something. So now when we compare APLM, for example, to ALBT, Riley, Brian, what's the biggest difference between the two? The first thing that comes to mind is vehicles.
Float.
Exactly. It's not even close. And so it's like by a large order of magnitude different between them, right? It's like by order of 10 or something. I don't know. I don't have it pulled up in front of me. But so when you say to yourself, okay, something is long loaded, I think, like people have bad averages, I may be able to capitalize on that on the short side. I'll be like, all right, cool. That's a good idea. Hey, dude, what's the float? And is this an algo? Because if the float is very small and most of the volume is algo, then nobody here is price sensitive, right? The algo's not going to freak out because it goes below its average.
Yeah.
So who's going to freak out?
Yeah.
In order for your fade thesis to work? Whereas conversely, on APLM, you know what I mean, where the float on that thing is whatever it is, 90 million, or I don't remember.
Yeah.
And people like people have bad averages on the long side. Now I might be interested. So does that sort of answer in a broad stroke?
So let's say like the action plays, like let's say APLM, for example. What would this have had to do for you to be like, this is algo volume, not long volume, like
It
not
was
long
algo
loaded.
volume. I didn't say it was.
Oh,
It
you
wasn't
think?
algo
Oh,
volume.
or so the action you thought was still like what caused it an algo?
It's a 90 million floaters. Algos are not gods.
So you, in this instance, really, you just think an algo like lost or did whatever they did.
Oh, they had an agenda. I don't think they lost. They've achieved their agenda, whatever it was.
Run that ATM, baby.
Right.
Oh yeah, run the ATM.
Yeah, it's win-win, bro.
Yeah. I see.
So you see, it's about putting all those pieces together and finding something. Bro, Memo over there been bitching to me all day today about how he couldn't find his trades today. He didn't find his trade yesterday. Missed out on a trade. He's so frustrated that he's just been sitting around and he just hasn't been trading much. And I'm like, dude, that's a blessing. I'm proud of you. that you could do that. It's the job, the way that I see it is, wait, this is money, dude. We're putting money at risk. I know that it's just numbers on a screen and it can get desensitizing.
Yeah.
You're putting money at risk. It's and you guys are sizing up, particularly all of you guys. I know it. It's no joke. And so the game, like, you know, Molly's like, oh, he's so frustrated over the last few days because he can't find his trades. And I'm like, no, bro, that's a good thing. Because even though I disagreed with him, like, I thought that there were trades he should have taken. I don't look at his lack of activity as something bad. I look at it as something good, because the job is not how many stocks can you trade. It's when can you recognize an opportunity that's in your wheelhouse and squeeze it for everything that you can. That is the job. And so, the way that I see it. And so, you know, it's, you just wait for something that makes sense to you. And if, you know, you take all these concepts that I share and, you know, you put them together and you don't see a trade, then don't fucking trade. And if you put them together and you see a trade, squeeze it for what it's worth, because that's what we're here for. And Molly's lack of activity, I would wear it as a badge of honor, because I know that when the trades come, he hits them.
No, Molly is a beast at that. I mean, I'm 2 red days deep, so I would love to have his kind of patience.
Right. So,
I'm learning.
Yeah, but it's a long way of saying, like, no trick, you know, works alone. It's we come in every day and we're like, you know, like, sort of to Swagini's question earlier, which was like, sort of, how do you learn to, you know, put vehicles in categories and then assign a baseline to each one, right? So in a similar way, we have to do that to the market every single day, because we don't come into, like, particularly a small cap. I'll use just a small cap sort of, you know, short sellers, or even, you know, small cap traders, no matter the directions example. We don't come into the market and say, oh, if something, if a stock is up 50%, here's what I'm going to do, long or short. That is not what we do. What we do is we wake up, or at least I hope that's not what we do. My perspective on it is that what we do, or what I do, is I wake up in the morning and I ask myself, what's the temperature of the cycle? What's the, you know, is there a psychological, you know, thing that I like can assign to the retail, to the people trading my vehicles today that, you know, might clue me in on potential, you know, clues to, you know, and then when something does go 50% or whatever it is, it's not just 50%. It's okay. What's the float? Is there a shelf? All these things, right? And so we got to basically, you know, what all the variables are, but that's not enough, because the variables aren't weighted the same weight every single day. Some days, some variables get assigned a different weight in your decision-making process based on conditions. And so that's what makes this so difficult to learn. And that's why me and Mike decided to do this podcast, because it dawned on me that the way that I was able to share my, you know, some of my knowledge with Molly was like inch by inch right. By fucking inch, until we got to a mile. And I just don't know another real way. And so that's the job every single day. I don't know if that answered the question.
No, but it's... I think weirdly it did. Yeah, I mean, it adds clarity for sure. I think we were too obsessed with identifying, oh, how do you see the difference between retail long loaded versus algo loaded? But in the context of everything else, I mean, then it becomes just one variable, right? Instead of like,
I mean, when you learn a new trick, you're excited to use it, and I understand.
Totally.
But there will come a time where all of the pieces just fall into place in your brain. Like, a lot of my trades are automatic. I don't think about them. And it's just because it's so seeped into my brain. The same thing will happen to you over time.
Yeah.
You know, there's no kicking yourself because you weren't able to use a trick you recently learned. That's not, you know, this is a process.
Yeah, makes sense. Appreciate it,
All
man.
right. No doubt, always. Any other questions? Anything that, you know, anybody?
Mo, to add on top of that, how do you gain confidence in your setup and in your execution? Because my execution, like sometimes I get faked out on a good setup. Sometimes I don't want to hit it on the backside when I know this is the backside. Maybe I'm just like I'm just a chicken, like I chicken out. Like, is that the problem? Or like,
Yeah.
how do I gain much more confidence? Because like I've seen the setup over and over. I tracked it. I have so many screenshots of that setup over and over. But I get faked out. I get chopped out. You know, or I just cover the chop, and that's the literal chop like of that stock.
It's a great question.
Any tips?
You know, I just first want to, you know, share with you that I suffer from the same thing. I'm constantly scared, and here's the thing: is that it used to be like, let's be really specific, right? And I'll use really specific examples. I'll say that I used to short stuff willy nilly, and it's not that I had a problem with fear; it's that I had a problem with skill, and I just sucked, and that was one thing. But then came a situation, like a part of my career or my journey, where I started understanding the support and resistance lines and the looking left lines, and I started to be able to sort of identify the action a little bit better, so that I wasn't really early into my trades. I knew where my trades needed to be, right? So let's use some sort of a random example, and let's say that, you know, something, you know, it looked like a short. I wanted to short it, but now I'm at a point in my skill level that I know it's not the short yet. I needed to hit this level, and when it hits this level and starts to peak out over that level, that's where I got to be, right? So now I'm smart enough to know that, smart enough to wait for that, and it comes. Now it comes. Now it's starting to do its peaking action right near a looking left level or whatever. You know what I found, dude? Even when I was so patient, just to wait for that, and I started like shorting the tops of the fucking wicks. You could not get a better entry than that on the short side. I was still deathly afraid. And I'm thinking to myself, why am I afraid? I have the best entry potentially possible. And the truth is that I sort of don't have an answer for you. But I do have one thing that I'll share. First of all, I'm scared too. And second, but this is the job. The job is this. So either you're gonna, you know, gain the skill that you need to gain, and then have the fucking balls to execute when that thing is staring you in the face, when your setup is staring you in the face, or else I can't do this job, right? And I want to do this job. And so, you know, what I did was I just sacked up. But I'll say two more things. Number one, I had to go through a journey in my career about how to be a good loser, how to take losers. I was a bad, what was it yesterday? I post stop outs all the time. Y'all see where the stop outs out, where they're at. They're typically, you know, I typically have entries near a line, and if it goes over that line, I'm out. I'm pretty disciplined that way, and that's also not necessarily an easy thing to acquire. But I think that once I became a really good loser, once I became a really good, you know, stop outer, so once I start hitting those, you know, my areas, I know what my risk is because I know I respect my risk. And knowing that really, really helped me to just take those risks. you know, and just, you know, it's not like the fear goes away. It just doesn't dictate what I do. And then finally, and this is really out there, but as I was mentioning earlier, so I'm trying to size up really big, right? Like I'm trying to like move on to the next level. And I got a thing with fear, man. I'm human. What can I say? And so I did start taking these nootropics recently, and I trade with them, and they help me. This is cheating, right? Because I'm using drugs, really, but it works. You know, it numbs me a little bit. It allows me to just trade the action as purely as possible without giving a fuck. And since I trust my risk behavior, that works for me.
Got it, Mo. I'll do mushrooms too.
There's no USADA testing, so in this game.
I should really not be talking to people.
Yeah. The whole room is gonna do mushroom next week.
Riley and I still learn to not talk to our families anymore.
Yeah. This is. I'm gonna have to change names and move country in a little bit. I've ruined all your lives. But that was a really good question, dude.
Yeah, Mo, like I think you're right. It's just practice. Like just the more you practice, the better you get, and the better you see things. But yeah, thank you.
I mean, it's also not necessarily a job for everybody, and I gotta be honest about that. Like me and Mali, for example, or Memo, excuse me, me and Memo, oftentimes we talk about trading, and I'll bring up stuff in life. Like I was in some scary trading situations, and Mali, I talked to him and be like, "Yo, bro, how you not scared?" And like the truth is that I've had Russian mobsters back me up against the wall, put a gun to my head. I was in suicide bombings. I've gone through shit, bro. Like, so I'm just wired the way I'm wired, and I'm still scared. But this job is right for me. Like I can handle it. And we're all here because we think we can too. And I salute that. Some of us are, some of us aren't, is the truth. So, it's a fucking scary job, dude. You gotta have the nuts for it.
Yeah, 100%. Yes, sir.
All right. Anybody else? Any questions, thoughts?
Yeah, a very simple one. I'm just curious what you would have liked to see on ASTS today for your perfect setup.
It only was missing one thing. And so as soon as it was done squeezing into the 36s or whatever it was, it knifed. I think that was the perfect setup. It was the perfect setup because it was essentially a first red day setup, but first red day setup classically does exactly the action that you saw in the morning, but in the pre-market, right? Which is to say the perfect red day setup is something that squeezes absolutely relentlessly on day one, which ASTS did yesterday. And then in the extended hours, the after hours, the pre-market the next morning, it then goes another, 20-30% above yesterday's high. Why? To kill every last short that might still be in that name. And that is the first red day setup, typically in pre-market. You'll see the top on those. And so in that regards, ASTS did the perfect setup. It did it in the morning, not in pre-market, nevertheless. And so all I fucking needed was a pop. Once it knifed from the 36, you saw me over there like, all right, 34.50, 35, if it pops, like went from like 36 to like whatever, 31. I'm like, fantastic. Shorts are gone. No more bid left. Give me a pop to 30, 30, 34, 50, 35. I'm there. Oh shit. It's not showing any bid. All right. Give me a pop to 32.50. I'll be there. Oh shit. No bid. Next thing I know, it's fucking $29. $28. I just needed a pop. That's all I needed. That was the only thing missing. And I just didn't get it. And I don't control the action. And I'm not gonna I wanted to be really big on this name. I'm not gonna do that into a knife going down. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, agree. I was waiting for the pop as well. Ideally,
but it
after
just
yesterday
killed
high
after
and then
short,
the
you know?
remover.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was tough, but I saw some guys catch the turn basically.
Yeah, good and good for them. Good for them. I just unfortunately that wasn't me. And we could sit here and review, okay, how could I have traded this being ready for the possibility of no pop. But I mean, who the fuck am I? Who do you think I am? I'm just a dude like you. I need that pop. And good for those guys that nailed it right at the turn. Really, I'm happy for them. I wish I was that guy. Today I wasn't. Sometimes I am. I just didn't see that read today.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's more than enough opportunity to come.
Oh yeah. For sure. And I think next week is going to be crazy in my neck of the woods, and I think your neck of the woods is going to turn real crazy too, because that sort of action on the market today, where if the market had started strong from the pre-market into the morning, that'd be one thing. There'd be trades there on the short side, but it's so fucking good at catching breaths when it needs to, not when you think it should, and then ripping your face off. And it's just, I guess what I'm trying to say is that I think that in a particular market, because I came into today really hoping to short market names, and I didn't do any of that stuff because I didn't see the action there that invited me to do that. But I think I wonder if you'd agree that a lot of people weren't that nuanced. They were just like, this is crazy, I'm a short. And those guys are going to get murdered. And as they're getting murdered, opportunities will come for you as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. My whole pot was planning for the short, but we were also we kind of expected it not to set up because we had a very similar opportunity last year in October, where everyone was looking to short nearly 100% retracement in the market, but it's the indices. You can't expect them to snap back like that, I guess.
Yeah.
And the early shorts get burned and turn into the fuel for further upside, I guess.
I'm laughing. I feel bad for them, but how many times are people gonna make the same mistake over and over?
Yeah.
But I'm saying next week, both of us are gonna have action, small cap and large caps. So it's gonna be fire.
Yeah. Looking forward.
Me too, man. I'm gonna have fun this weekend because I think that, I doubt I'm gonna have a day off in the next week or two. So I'm really gonna, enjoy this weekend.
Yeah, this summer is on fire. No vacations.
This whole year is on fire. From a small cap perspective, because I'm a dude that tracks the cycles, and we've had strong cycle after strong cycle after strong cycle, and every time that a cycle takes its breath, the first few times in this year that the cycle, a strong cycle took its breath, I was like, okay, I wonder how long it's going to be, week, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks. I hope not a month. Come to find out 4 days, 3 days, and that sort of repeated itself over and over. The longest sort of week cycle that I remember this year was maybe a couple of weeks, and majority of them were less than that. And so this year has been, from my perspective, it's been, I don't know what the adjective here is. It's been fire. And please don't let it stop.
Don't worry, we got monkeypox.
You are so right, bro. Yeah, I feel like such a piece of shit laughing about these things because these are people's lives. But, you know, to compartmentalize it from simply a work perspective, yeah, you're right.
Memo, how do you not take trades that are not your edge? Does SMP have a gun on your head?
What a great question. Hit it, Molly. Memo's gone. He's over there watching
Molly,
porn
you're
on the
muted.
side.
I don't know. SMB definitely doesn't have a gun to his head, if that helps.
Yo,
Wait,
he's not watching porn right now. So Memo, Black Cat was asking, how do you go through like, you know, like days or periods of times where you just don't trade at all?
Well, psychologically, it's for sure it was way harder in the beginning, and then once I realized I'm making money when I wait and I hit big when I see it, and I start to refine, okay, what it is making me wait, like what is the reason I'm waiting, and it took 4 or 5 months for me to realize like what I'm waiting for exactly. And once I realized, like I proved myself that is the reason I'm waiting, and it paid off. So the answer to the question, you know, if you know you're gonna make money if you wait, and you are not losing money if you wait, the reason is I know I'm gonna make money if I wait, because my setups they just don't come that often. So it is easier when you know when they come that I'm gonna hit them big. But I'm pretty sure if they don't come like a whole month, like let's say there's a whole month I didn't trade, for sure I have to adjust, but I haven't had them before. So right now, first couple of months hard, but after that you kind of see, okay, I have to wait. You prove that to yourself. So,
Nice. Do you watch movies in the meantime?
sorry, I couldn't hear you. What did you say?
Like I said, that's nice. That's cool. But what do you do in your free time? Do you like watch movies when you don't have, when you're not?
No, I'm still very active in the market. I'm trying to develop other setups right now, because I'm really doing 1 to 2 setup that I do really well. So my free times, I'm constantly trying to see like, okay, where else I can put size on and treat as a different business. I'm not in a spot to watch movie yet, but hopefully in the next couple of years, no, trying to find other setups. That's my job on the free time.
Thanks. Thank you, Memo.
Yeah.
Fucking Memo, man. I love it. Okay, guys, we're past the hour mark. Maybe if somebody, either we wrap it up, or if somebody has something that they wanted to bring up that they haven't had a chance to, now's the chance.
Right.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. So I think we can call it here. Guys, have a fantastic weekend. See you all next week.
All right, guys.
All right, take care, guys.
See you next week.